Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Secret to Success podcast. I'm so excited to have each of you today. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. Bill Perkins. I have seen a lot about you, I've done my research, but before I say anything or start asking questions, I would like to ask you to tell our audience all about you.
All about me. Well, I'll give you the shortest version I can. I was born in Jersey City, New Jersey. Okay. I went to school at the University of Iowa, played football at the University of Iowa, was mainly on the bench. Had a degree graduated actually after leaving college, but I have a degree in electrical engineering. And I went east to serendipitously start my career in commodities, working on the New York Mercantile Exchange. Um, from there to Houston, got married in Houston, had kids, got successful in my field. Um, I have one stepson and two daughters. Um, and I generally hate onions. I don't know. What else could I tell you? I hate onions, you know. Um, and I'm 51 now. I'm getting up there, and I'm pretty blessed. I've had a pretty good ride.
Awesome. Thank you very much for introducing yourself to us. So my first question is, what brought you from Jersey to Texas? What had made that shift happen?
So at the time, I was a broker, and I really wanted to be a trader. And during the period of deregulation, when energy firms in Houston were looking for expertise in derivatives, options trading, basically what I had been learning in New York, there was this like huge sucking sound. You know what I mean? Of Houston sucking professionals down from the East Coast. And originally I was like, I will never move south in the Mason-Dixon line. I had all the stereotypes of South, right? But I was at a point in my life where I was willing to take any risk um, possible that I could possibly stand in order to pursue my dreams of being a trader.
Okay. So now that you've been down here in Houston, you have done quite a bit from being a best-selling author. Um,
Well, not yet,
Open.
not best selling yet. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but from your lips to God's ears.
So from authoring your book to your poker to your business, how is everything going today? How has success been for you as far as today?
How's everything going today? I think most of my career I was so focused on a number, like a metric, a number of success was a number, right, that I was striving to. And um, you know, doubt about that, had been with me throughout my life in various forms. And so, what's the point of the money? What am I going to use it for? I had like these cartoon type ideas of what a rich guy would do. So I would do these like what I thought rich guys should do, and I was like, this isn't me, like, like, and so the best thing about um, success and how I measure success is like the ability to like have an impact and move about the world and have choices. And most of the impact is, internally, people always put up family, and I'm no different, like with my family, and provide and be, that insurer of last resort for them, that security and stability, which we all search for, but then also um, um, options and freedom. And one of the things I had trouble with is once I had those options and freedoms, I didn't really think about, or I was disconnected from my younger self about what I really wanted. I was so caught up on the mechanism to get to this number without, I kind of left behind like, why am I doing this in the first place? So, but now I'm much more in touch. I take a time to pause and get off autopilot and think about what does success mean for me, and how do I want to spend the limited resource that we have called time.
Yes, time is definitely limited. And from what you just said, it actually brought up two questions for me. My first question for you is, as an entrepreneur and a family man, how were you as a father and a businessman able to not necessarily balance, but incorporate the both to have um, a wonderful environment for both you and your family as an entrepreneur and a father.
Well, let me first say that I'm pretty sure I got it wrong a lot of the time, right? Like, so I don't want to come off like, hey, I got it right, and I just rode that bike straight, no wobbles. No, that didn't happen. You know, as an entrepreneur, when you're building, right, you have this goal, and you think, if even though I'm sacrificing time here, 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 and you're trying to balance out your day, like, do I spend an extra hour working on this project or thing or trade, or do I spend time and play Barbies with my kids or whatever it is, and and you're thinking, well, entrepreneurs so driven, so focused, and sometimes on autopilot are thinking, this is better for my kids overall. This will make their, you know what I mean? I'm providing for the family, I'm providing for their future lifestyle, etc. But sometimes you get that dead wrong. And there's more value in just spending time with your kids playing Barbies than the project, right? And I talk about that in detail, but you know, you just keep going. The way to not fall down when you get out balance on a bike is you have to keep pedaling, right? So you might have got it wrong, you might have wobbled, you might have completely, but you just keep pedaling, and you won't, you're able to keep your balance. And so I've revised, and I generally think I can never get it perfect, but I'm always trying to get it right.
Well, first, happy late Father's Day to you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for your transparency as well. When we have interviews with when I interview the ladies, I always ask them, well, how did you balance this and this? But I've never actually asked the fatherpreneur,
Yeah.
your perspective of it, because as Antonio he's very driven, and I see him do everything that he does, but I've never just actually sat down and was like, Antonio, how do you do all this? And so thank
Yeah.
you very much for your transparency, and I hope what you just shared with us helps other fatherpreneurs as well, because yeah, you guys don't get the props you deserve at times, because you as providers, fathers, you guys do a lot. So thank you very much
Oh,
for your
thanks for saying
transparency.
that. Yeah. You never, it's just a pursuit, right? You never get there, right? Like, so, but
Look, I'm new in it, and I'm still like, okay, what do
yeah.
I do now? Because mine is 5, so it's
Oh yeah.
but still, thank you very much. There was something else that you said as well. You said towards the end, you were like, sometimes when I pause, how has pausing played a role in your success today as a father, as an entrepreneur, author, film producer, poker player? How has pausing affected your life?
I think when I take a pause, a lot of times you like get it, got it, go, and you just go on autopilot, right? I go to work, I check in, I do whatever, I do the thing, I drive home or whatever, and on different areas of life, we tend to go on autopilot without correcting course, right? And so we may go too far down that path, or we may uh, get off course a little bit because our goals should be changing or the times are changing, et cetera. And taking a pause is kind of like, let me take stock of what's going on, what's working, what's not working. Let me get off autopilot and kind of like really figure out, you know, what I need to be doing, what do I really want to be doing, you know what I mean? What do people around me, my loved ones, want me to be doing, et cetera? What do they need, and are they aligned with my priorities? And it's very, very easy to, for me, and I think other people, to get stuck in like autopilot, not check in, and have basically your actions really diverge from your priorities or your goals, right? Because they were set so long ago, right? And set in motion, and they were right at the time, but as time goes on, they may not work or may not fit, or may be calibrated incorrectly, and now you're like, oh wow, where did all this time go? I could have spent time with my kid. Now they don't want to spend time with me because they're teenagers, or that type of thing, right? Or what was I doing working so much on this project when my industry was heading this way? You know what I mean? And I didn't really stop to like reassess what was going on. And so that pause is kind of like a mirror. Everybody has a mirror in a house, right? They all need feedback, but it's a more personal, introspective mirror of you holding back about what you're doing, what's going on, and so you can correct. So in times of my life when either I had the involuntary pause, which happens, right? Like sometimes, you're on a pot so long, and life will just, slap you and pause for you, right? And you prefer, my dad used to say, some people learn the easy way, some people learn the hard way, and some people never learn. I'm a hard way learner. You know what I mean? Life has to slap me a couple times, but it's better than never learning at all. The easy way is to learn from other people's mistakes, do the processes you read in books, those type of things. Occasionally I do it the easy way, but those pauses have been, whether involuntary or voluntary, they have been great.
Awesome. Thank you. I really do appreciate your transparency. I when you said what you said about what your dad said, I sat here, I was like, oh yeah. My dad, my dad was always the one, he said, why do you always have to learn the hard way?
Yeah,
I said, why are you my kid that has to learn the hard way? And I just look at him like,
we're hard way
oh.
learners. We're experiential hard way learners. We need to touch the hot stove in every department.
Oh, okay, that's not, don't do that anymore. And you just saw somebody touch it.
Like, yeah, we could have learned from that guy's burnt finger, but like, no, we got to burn our fingers ourselves.
Like, it's not gonna burn mine. It burned his because he didn't do it right. That's why it burned his. He didn't do it right.
That's us, right? But
but I'm now in my late 30s learning how to pause and look at someone else's mistake and be like, okay, don't do that. Got it. Let me go over here. But it took a moment to get there. It really did.
yeah.
So my next question is how did you shift from trader broker to film producer? Where did that come in?
Well, it wasn't like it wasn't a shift per se. It was kind of like, earlier on in my, like, what do you want to do? Right? Just kind of like how you saw the world, right? This is like a young 17, 18, 19-year-old, how they see the world. So you can discount it as much as you like, right? But my idea was essentially that, as capital is a lifeblood of business, the business of movies, it's the same. The businesses of almost everything, having capital, having money is the lifeblood, right? And that if you had the capital, you can go into any field, right? If you have enough money, you want to start a hospital, start a hospital. You have enough money, you want to build a rocket company, start SpaceX. You know what I mean? Like, if you have the capital or have the ability to raise the capital, right, you'll be able to go into any field you want to, right? And so instead of taking the route of, I'm going to go to
Stress, sleep, recovery, whether we're in the gym or at work, these things shape how we perform. I know I have a combination of both stress and sleep. When you're running a multi-million-dollar company as the COO, your stress levels are high and your sleep is pretty minimal. You lay down at night, but you have work on your mind and it's going and going and going, and you can't quite get to sleep. And then once you get that comfortable position and you doze off, your alarm clock goes off and it's time to wake up. And then I wake up exhausted because I really didn't sleep. I wake up not ready for the day. My alert level is extremely low, and it's really hard to have a productive day when you're in that type of physical condition. One thing I've added to my daily routine, and it's helped make a noticeable difference for me, is New Calm. See, when I first got my New Calm and I went in and I set it up, it was an easy process. Uploading the app, getting everything together was so easy to do. And then when I used it that first night, I noticed that I actually got a little more sleep than I normally got, and my mind was a little calmer than normal. when I woke up the next day, I had more alertness than I had in a while, and I was excited and I was ready for the day, and I had a very productive day because I was able to focus. And now I have more alertness. I'm not falling asleep during training because I slept at night. My nights have been extremely wonderful. My mind is calm, so my body is able to rest because my mind isn't going. And it's really helped me because I know at night I need to go to sleep in enough time so I can put on my new calm and I can have enough time to rest and then wake up alert and ready to go in the morning. And I wake up earlier now than I used to before new calm. See, it's imperative to your health and happiness to be able to manage stress and not be managed by it. And New Calm gives you the power and control to relax and recharge anywhere, anytime. You can own the day with New Calm. The whole process is easy to use and to work into your daily routine to achieve better sleep, reduction in stress, and boost in recovery. So do what I did. Own the day with New Calm. We have a special link set up specifically for our Secret to Success listeners. Go to successnewcalm.com and get 50% off your 30-day subscription of New Calm and their money back guarantee. That's successnewcalm.com. Successnewcalm.com.
LA, I'm gonna hustle, I'm gonna go to film school, I'm gonna do this and whatever. I'm just like, nah, I'm gonna make a bunch of money. I'm the guy financing the movie. I'm in the movie business, that kind of mentality, with everything. And so I felt like if I can go into a field that leveraged my time, then later on I'd be able to spend my time the way I wanted to, right?
Mm.
And so I went into to finance commodities not because it was like this is the coolest job ever and I want to do it, but it was a means to an end, right? And so movies were something that always kind of fascinated me, the creative process, making movies, etc. And so one of those things when I was like, oh, I'm a rich guy. Rich guys should make movies. Let's make a movie. And so I guess kind of got into it. This is very expensive business hobby thing. Um, it's a brutal business, but you get a lot of value out of creating something that wasn't there, even when it's a bad product in the end. Like even if it's like, oh, that movie is terrible, like you still have to make a bad movie and a great movie. It's the same amount of work,
Mm.
right? And the same process: writing, production, filming, editing, cutting down, marketing, etc. Whether it's financially successful or not, you're going to go through the steps and you're going to learn a lot. So I really enjoyed it, but it was something that if you said, oh, how did you transition from trading to movies? It's like, well, trading was just like, how do I get money? You know what I mean? And then how do I do all these other things? So it really wasn't a transition. It was kind of like, um, now that I had enough money to like, okay, I can risk this amount of capital in a movie project. I started doing that. I started
Really?
pursuing the things that I loved, or just trying to discover it because I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. You do it and then you're like, it's a love hate thing. It's like it's a it's a lot of fun. It's creative, etc., and it's also brutal. So and I went back for more punishment like 9 times. So there you go.
That's funny. Oh man, you said something. You said you mentioned the word freedom, and one of the things that Antonio has always taught us is what is your why? Is your why strong enough? And I just recently realized that my why is the freedom to be able to do whatever I want, when I want, how I want it. What has been your why this entire time? Like from the childhood to today, what has been your why that has just kept you driven? And has it shifted any throughout the years?
Yeah, it definitely has shifted. I think the why is the same as freedom, optionality. There's you grow up, you go to the movies. I'm a kid of the '80s. You see the quote unquote rich guy, right? And it was never like a black guy like me. Right? It was a white guy who looked like he could be the president. Talk like this. You know what I mean? Like, but
With the 5 o'clock shadow.
talk like this. Yeah, son, I think we'll go to the Hamptons. You know what I mean? Like, like a Thurston Howell III from Gilligan's Island. If older people might remember that. But and when Wall Street came out, it depicted these cool events and places to go and travel without worry and clothes and cars and girls, of course, right? Like nothing will get a guy going into industry more than there's girls. You know what I mean? And so, so that kind of idea of like, wow, this is a great, wonderful planet, and you can maneuver and walk about it if you're, much more easily, and have more experiences. If you're very successful financially, that really appealed to me. That level of freedom of traveling and meeting and solving problems. And it's not only just completely hedonistic things. I mean, there's also value in doing charity, makes you feel good, but like, there's a starving village over here. You can solve that. You know what I mean? If that means something to you, people, bail reform, and there's people locked up. You want to bail them out? You can bail them out. Like that type of thing, that you can solve some of the world's problems. Like, so convert your talent in one field into a talent in another, right? Via the transitive property of money, right? Like you just buy the expertise of other people to solve it, right? And so that whole concept, really resonated with me, right? That idea, that type of freedom, and that ability to make an impact.
Awesome. That. Antonio always says that success, prosperity has its own language. And the entire time you're speaking, I'm like, yep, Antonio's right. Because I hear you were talking about the freedom, but also the freedom to help others, the freedom to be able to go over here, but also the freedom to say, oh, there's a village over here in need, let me go help. So with that being said, how important has the service of others been to your success?
I think, the way I define success, I wouldn't be successful if it wasn't a part, right? Like by my definition, right? I don't, this ride called life that we go on, like, that's that question of balance. Like all the crazy stuff you want to go, your glow sticks in the club, you're traveling, you're hiking the Mount Kilimanjaro or Everest. Those are all great, wonderful experiences and shared experiences you want to have with your friends and close loved ones. But, I would like to make the world just a micro bit better than when I was here, or at least not leave it worse, right? Hopefully, right? And so I think, when we look historically at successful figures, we don't really celebrate the richest man 23,000 years ago, right? We celebrate people that have massive impact on society or culture in a positive way. And so I think if you look at your life from a historical lens, zeros in a bank account will never, you know what I mean? It'd be like kind of like, I mean, he was a successful banker, but not like a successful human. And I want to be a successful human.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that actually brings me to your book, because I looked at your book. I read a lot about what it was like, and within your book, I have a feeling that you are going to accomplish what you're setting out to accomplish. So can you let us know about your book and what sparked you to write it?
Well, I'll take the last question first. I've had these concepts and ideas in my head that I've been debating and talking about with friends over the years. And when I do, I generally get feedback like, that conversation changed my life. That conversation helped me do X. I'm getting more, better, faster, whatever, because of this conversation. You changed my perspective. And that was very fulfilling to me. And the concepts that I talk in the book, I quite literally believe that I'm saving people's life, right? And so for me, authoring the book was like, hey, this is a way to get a message out that people will be able to save their own lives, their own precious resource, the life energy they have, and use it more wisely and get the most out of their life. And I don't tell you how to live in this book. I tell you, based on what you want out of life, how to get the most of it, right? And a process and how to think about it, so that the book's called Die with Zero, so that you die with zero regrets, right? One of those tools is you basically use your money wisely so that you wind up with zero money when you die, but it's really about dying with zero regrets. And so I wanted to help people achieve that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I believe it was Mr. Les Brown who said the richest place on earth is the graveyard, because nobody dies. Nobody dies with zero. They die with their dreams in them, their goals in them. And so thank you. Thank you, because it, not everybody has the strength or personal self-belief to believe that they can do whatever it is they put their mind to. And that's something that I wanted to mention earlier, because you were saying how when you were a kid, you thought this, you thought that, and you were like, I feel like you still have the mindset of a child in regards to whatever you can imagine. It's like, you know what? I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, oh, why did I choose this? Why did I choose this path? Like, what was wrong? What was I thinking? But yeah, I generally do believe that it's a matter of, are you willing? Do you want it bad enough? Are you willing to pay the cost and the sacrifices and reorient your life to accomplish them? But yeah, I do believe that. And as a matter of fact, I think a lot of my, I tell people, why do you think you were successful? I said, aside from like being right place, right time type luck, that comes along and creating your own luck, I had the delusional belief that I could. And like, well, yeah, you were delusional. I'm like, you need that delusional belief to keep you going. If you, that is like, I'm not one of these like, the secret and whatever and X, Y, and Z and karma, but there is so much power in believing that you can do it, because you will, if it's a Rubik's Cube, you know what I mean? You will try every combination until you get it done. You know what I mean? Like that's what you need. Like, I could solve this Rubik's Cube, right? Because it's solvable. And then, there are certain things that are impossible that we don't know they're impossible to try, but you need to go through, get through it and fail, and then come back and do something else. I've had failures are a great thing. It's a great teacher, it's like it's a
Yes,
great
it is.
teacher, and you don't like it, but it's like, if you come from, we start to realize, I think later on, it's the journey. The destination, from a physical standpoint, I don't want to insult anybody religious, right? Like, the destination sucks, right? It's the grave. It's tight in there. You can't move. They kind of sew your lips shut. You're all rotten. It's just not it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And so, you kind of want this massive attempts, big misses, great successes, loop the loops. Oh my gosh, I thought I was going to do this, but now I'm doing that. Here I am type of ride of life. And so I'm quite okay with failures, even though they hurt. They're supposed to. And I'm more focused on the attempts and deciding what I want to do, what big things do I want, or what small things do I want, and enjoying the ride.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that you discussed the journey aspect of life, because it took me a very long time to understand that. Going through coaching with Antonio and getting to where I am today, it took me to understand, stop he always tells us, once you get to the starting line, you've already finished. It's what you do in between the start and the finish that gets you to where you need to go. And it's the either you're going to stay on track, you are going to go off. There's going to be potholes. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your peaks and your valleys. But if you just keep moving, and the journey is the best part of the entire trip.
Oh yeah. I
Learn
mean,
from it.
amen. Yeah. I mean, trophies are anticlimactic.
Mm.
Often they're anticlimactic. Like when you have a football season and you win the trophy at the end, that ceremony is 20, 30 minutes. You spend hundreds of hours in the gym, practice, hanging out with friends, playing games, nail biters, or whatever. That whole process you need to enjoy. Because if it's just for the trophy at the end, it's not worth it. I can tell you that right now. It is not worth it, right? You have to relish and enjoy the journey, be present, the whole thing, the whole development of whatever project it is, whether it's you're getting in shape and you're playing on a football team or you're building a business, etc. That's the juice, right? The check at the end is kind of like, you've been working so hard, and I discussed this in the book. This is what the book is about: is that you've been so busy building. By the time you get the check, you're like, I don't even know what to do with this money. You know what I mean? Like you're out of touch with what you wanted in the beginning.
Right. I think that's one of the things that I've learned the most. Like in elementary school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. There's no way that you could tell me that I was not going to grow up, have my own farm with my pigs, my horses, my cows, my dogs. There is no way. And then as I got older, the journey from junior high, from elementary to high school is like, yeah, I don't even know what I want to do anymore. And then from high school to sales attempts in college to marriage, kids, and today it was like I just finally was like, okay, when are you actually going to just do what you want to do? Like, are you going to live your life with regret? Or are you going to go for it and be like, you know what? It didn't work out, but I'm glad I at least
Yeah.
went that route. It's the journey is crazy, and I admire and appreciate those like you and Antonio and others that I've spoken with who have actually been like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I'm
Yeah.
not going to let the model stop me from just doing whatever I want to do. So I appreciate your transparency with us today, and I appreciate you and Antonio and everyone else who have literally just shown us, hey, just do it. You're
Yeah.
going in.
Yeah. We don't
Yeah,
celebrate the failures and the attempts enough in society, right? Like, and
we
so
shouldn't.
I love those attempts. Like people like, oh, it didn't work out. I'm like, I don't care to tell them. That's whatever. There's all kinds of things that you could have done something wrong. Outside circumstances could have went wrong, or whatever. Tell me about this attempt. Tell me about this glorious thing that went wrong. You know what I mean? And so, and I've had people have glorious attempts, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm really envious of your experience.
Mm,
I've some of the experiences that I've been most envious of were colossal failures. Like they were colossal. Like it was like, you know what I mean? In part internal things or external, but it was like, wow, you attempted to do this and you got all that and you whatever and the thing and oh wow, oh man, that went horribly wrong, and those are I'm really envious of your experience, you know.
yeah, because it's just
It's
the
that adventure.
knowledge.
They win it. They tried it. They learned. They whatever.
Yes,
They learned when to work. Maybe their interests have changed over time. They don't want to go back and attempt it. But like that is like, I don't know. We're at this dinner and you got something interesting to say, and I ain't got shit to say because This is way more interesting a life than the thing I can talk about, right? Like,
right,
and
exactly.
I wish I had that story. I can feel it, So
Definitely. I'm sitting here. Antonio has us reading books about how Instagram got started, how Netflix got started. I'm listening to them tell their story. I'm like, even though that was like you said, even though that was a drastic fail on that part, but the experience that you had with that is absolutely amazing. And when you think about the experiences, it's like, wow, like you said, the journey, instead of us always looking at, man, the shoulda, coulda, woulda, what about the experiences that you've had that got you to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, those things that link that causality, those experiences build where you are. But it's also like if you look at kind of like what I discuss in the book about your life, the arc of your life, and like really you're in the business of the acquisition of memories,
Hmm.
experiences, right? Like how you think of yourself today is part of what's going on right now, but a large part of what has happened in the past of your life, like the narrative of who you are, how you define yourself, or the things you did and didn't do, and the things that happened to you, and that is how you define yourself. Basically, your memories. If I wipe your memory clean, we start fresh, but you have like your intelligence at least, like of things, you're a totally different person. Totally different reactions, totally different perspective, totally different. And so that those experiences are what life is all about, right? And when you talk about them, like the experiences of your failures and your successes, you don't get to live them once. You get to live them twice, three, four, five, 10 times because they bring enjoyment when you talk about them. You know what I mean? When you had your kid, his first home run, when you did X, when you told the joke and milk came out your nose and they were laughing, like when you gather with your friends, I asked an informal poll. I said, what percentage of the time is spent discussing um, future events or current things or things that happened in the past between either you or your friends? And 75, I think, but the majority was basically this 75-25 past events, followed by 50-50 equal, right? So if when you retire, you don't really retire in money, you retire in your memories. Anybody who's visited an old parent, it's like, remember that time and blah blah blah. It's discussions of the past that keep them alive, that they get to enjoy once again through what I call the memory dividend of recalling um, those experiences that they invested in. And so that memory dividend is like an interest payment, right, from that investment that you made on these experiences. And so and that can even happen with bad experiences, right? Like you went, you tried this thing and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, 5 years later, you're joking about it and like, man, I horribly did wrong. I got the accounting all wrong. The thing, whatever. The bank was calling me, collecting on me, thought I bounced the check, almost went to jail. And then you're telling a story, everybody's cracking up, laughing at this whatever failure you had. And it is like part of your resume. It's like you're glad you went through it. And not only that, you're getting years and years and years of enjoyment out of that experience through reliving it and retelling it. And it becomes radioactive too, because you tell it to somebody, they get value out of it, they might tell it, you know what I mean? Everybody, now you're creating a new experience of this great dinner conversation or great lunch conversation or whatever going on. And so I'm very big on experience. And experience is a wide term. It can mean anything. It could be charitable giving. It could be like, hey, I volunteered for the Peace Corps and I built wells in, you know, Zambia, wherever, right? It's very broad, but the experiences you want to have is kind of like getting off autopilot, deciding what they are, and just going for it, and
Mm.
realizing that by investing hard in those experiences that you choose to have, you will get dividends.
So, speak in discussion of experiences, what has been the greatest experience for you?
Oh, I mean, it's always like the birth of my first daughter. It's just kind of like overwhelming thing. Um, but I know everybody was like, come on, don't give me the parent answer. Like we've heard that 1,000 times. Tell me something outside of that. I think the experience, when I first went on the floor and decided to move to Houston, I think like that kind of period of where I was like really adamant of moving to Texas. Like I had all the stereotypes of like they're gonna lynch me or whatever. You know what I mean? Like cowboy, Mason Dixon line.
Yeah.
Like Houston. Like why the hell? And from New York City, like why the hell would you ever go? That type of thing. And I just packed up, got an opportunity, and was out the door. Like didn't know a soul here, moved here. Created new relationships and friendships. um the totality of that experience of like I am going for it. right? That rate of change and that rate of like risk and that exhilaration. I think that was um it was like the one of the best experiences of my life. That time period, that I can accomplishment and then, you know, losing money, getting fired, getting broke, getting unbroke, that whole roller coaster of success and failure, but trying in that upward trajectory was a really, really great experience, which, when I get together with my friends and they talk about, oh yeah, remember you had to sleep on the train because you couldn't afford, the train fare and you didn't want to hop the stall, like it's quasi sucked. Actually, it didn't quasi suck. It sucked at the time, but I had purpose and I was driven and whatever. And now it's like one of the better stories, right? Like I have all these stories of making it, doing well, screwing up royally, you know what I mean? Getting smashed down, making mistakes, coming back, the whole juice of life. And so, that ride was a great experience.
Awesome. Awesome. So you started off by saying the greatest experience was the birth of your daughter. Your first daughter? What what is the one thing that you want to leave for your children?
Oh wow. I always say that my job is to prepare them to navigate the world, so them to be strong, confident, independent thinking women with compassion, right? Um, that they can navigate the world. And then it's like, doesn't matter what I think. It's like, F you, dad, you lived your life. I'm gonna live mine. That's kind of the way I want it to be for them. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of parents like, I want my daughter to be the doctor or the thing and whatever. I have that too, right? But if I can leave them with that, right? That sense of compassion and forgiveness, integrity, the ability to navigate their world, the ability to adapt, right? Then I feel like I have left them with all they need, and now it's like, okay, what do they want? What are the things they want to do? Let them go on their own adventure, right? And so I would want to leave them with the tools to have their own great adventure.
Awesome. Yay. I thank you. Thank you. Because like you said, most parents, I want you to do this and I want you to do that. But it's good to hear a parent say, no, I just want to make sure that you got what you need to navigate. If you decide not to go this route, I'm okay with that. Just as
Yeah,
long as you
as long as it's them making the decision, they're not being swayed by circumstances, but they're off autopilot and they're making the decisions. Then you know it's their life. You know what I mean? They get one, and I want them to adapt and live it. Navigate the world on their own will. Of their will, not of mine. Right? I'm not trying to control them from the grave or from whatever. I mean, I control. They think I'm over controlling now, overprotective now, but eventually I have to like let go, and they're like, "Please, Dad, I'm gonna go do this." I'm like, "No, God," you know. I mean, your whole life, like when I first had kids, right, and we get the babysitter over, I said, "Listen, your job is to keep them from killing themselves. I'm not worried about like people intruders. I mean, yeah, there's intruders, whatever, but like honestly, the socket, the eye, your whole life is just a lifetime of worry. Like, don't eat that, don't whatever, blah. You know what I mean? Trying to, then you get to a point where okay, they're not gonna kill themselves with the electric socket or whatever, and they're gonna buckle, they're gonna get snatched, and do they have street smarts and you're just constantly, it's just a lifetime of worry, right? You worry in the womb where they have 10 fingers and 10 toes. Outside the womb, you start worrying about everything. The first fever, every parent goes bananas. The doctors are like, oh my God.
Yeah,
You're in an
right.
emergency room. They got 103 fever. They're like, will you please just go home and give them some grape juice? Get the hell out of here. You know
I'm
what I
laughing
mean?
because that was me.
It's so true, right? And so you get this programming that you're just in this role, right? This autopilot role of dad protector thing, and you got to crack that. You got to step back and be like, okay, what is it I really want for their lives? What do I want them to be able to do? And step back and be like, okay, eventually it's their adventure. You know what I mean? You're out of it, and they have to be have the freedom to take risks, even deadly risks that they want to take. It's like they get to choose their own risk reward. And so that's what I'm trying to. That's what I want to leave them with, that ability to do that.
Way to go, Dad. No, seriously, because I'm a daddy's girl, and I only know what he tells me, but I also know what he doesn't tell me. I know he worries. I know, even though I'm grown, I know he still. So it it's cool to hear from another dad's perspective in regards to his daughter. So thank you yet again for your transparency.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what got you into poker? Was it something that you decided to do as a hobby, or were you sitting there one day, you're like, you know what? I'm really good at this.
No, I'm not good. You know what I mean? Like the world is so much better. I'm okay. But I think it's, I think I naturally have a risk-taking gene in there. I was attracted to risk. That's why I got into trading and risk for me, a lot of times when I'm coaching my friends or taking them, it's like I generally seem to be pushing them into a riskier thing. Like, hey, it's not as risky as you think. And actually, traders particularly think of opportunity risk, so opportunity cost, more so than the risk of ruin or loss. So we have like this FOMO, right? Like, what do you mean I can't afford not to do this? Do you realize how much potential is here, right? If I lose, it's this much. If I win, it's that much, right? So we're always thinking of the opportunity and potential. And so I poker is just another game of very similar to trading and risk and opportunity. And I think I'm a little bit of a degenerate. I like, you know what I mean? Like I like to get lucky. So I got introduced to it because traders are generally, they like to play pokers and relax, playing all kinds of other games of math and skill and stuff like that. And that's how I first got into it. And then I just kind of like the social aspect of it. It's similar to golf, except that you're actually more social because you're sitting at a table for hours with up to 8 other individuals, 9 including the dealer and the host, and you're having you're meeting very interesting characters and having very interesting conversations. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Okay. I've always been curious about poker, but never really just stepped into it. But I think I'm gonna stick with my slot machines for right now.
It's a straight gambling. Straight addiction. Straight. Variable reward at its finest. No.
So, Mr. Perkins, before we end today's call, I have one question. You've been speaking, and I hope that our listeners have been actively listening to what you've been saying the whole time. But what do you believe has truly been your secret to your success?
Oh wow. I'm going to go back to. I'm going to always normalize look. I was. When people point me out, like as an African American, it's like, you're successful, you just worked hard, you got there, why can't these other people do blah, 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 right? And I'm like, whoa. I am the poster child of somebody who should have made it. I was born post-civil rights to both my parents eventually got their college degrees, okay? I was in the East Coast, which is multicultural, in a growing economy, right? So that means I got introduced to many people. My dad was able to put me in better schools. If anybody was going to make it, it was me. I was very, very lucky, that being said. So in the distribution, I'm one of the guys who fall over here, okay? That being said, there are other people like me that didn't do it. And I think my father and my family, particularly my dad and his example of his life, with astronomically worse scenario to get to where he was. He was a defense attorney. That delusional belief that it can be done. Because if you ratchet that down just one bit, I don't even attempt half the crap that I've done, right? And so like you're looking at the successes, right? But like let's I've been fired twice, okay? Once by my best friend.
Wow.
One of my best friends, right? And then he rehired me. You know what I mean? I've had my, and each time I was hurt or, worried, but I was undaunted. You know what I mean? I was a little worried, but I was undaunted. I was like, let's keep going. It was like I got my ass knocked down on a football field and got back up and like, this is the game, right? And so that belief and that tenacity and that delusional, that just grand delusion that I can do something big is the big secret. If we have to say like, listen, don't step in the ring if you don't like getting punched. Every boxer gets punched. Most every boxer gets knocked down. May not get knocked out, but at least gets knocked down. Okay. And so, that's part of the game. You're going to get punched. You're going to get bloody. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get a rib shot. You're going to be like, oh, why am I doing this? Ding, get back in there. And so that I think has been the secret, because I can point to many times where things I could have went the more safe or easy path, or let me just get a safe government job here, or let me do X, Y, and Z. Let me take the cushy place. And I always had the belief, like, I'd rather be scuffed up, broke on the streets than go the safe route. And that being said, I don't want to say I'm a complete badass, because when you really look at everybody's life, if you have, you're not mentally unstable and you have a life, like, you can always get, now you're gonna have to check your ego, but you can always get some sort of job that is going to sustain you. You know what I mean? You're not going to be busting on the streets. Like, yeah, do I want to wait at Carlos O'Kelly's, one of the jobs I had for the rest of my life? No. But would it pay me a decent live, and when I ratchet down my lifestyle? Yes. And so realizing that I could check my ego and work, I could be a garbage man. They got a good contract. You know what I mean? They got a union. It's like, once I checked my ego and realized there were, and I guess that's secondary, like the delusional belief that's like an egomaniac belief, the delusional belief that I can make it, but also the ability that I could check my ego and realize that if I failed, I will do whatever. You know what I mean? And I'll have a different life, but I will have an okay life, and it'll be okay. I will at least have that adventure, of trying.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perkins. I have truly and honestly enjoyed our interview today. I would love for you to let our audience know first where they can find your book, and then how can they follow you? Where can they find your book, and how can they follow you?
Okay, so you can find my book, Die with Zero, on any of the retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, the independent bookstores. It comes out July 28th. You can pre-order now, so let's not wait. Or you can go to the website, diewithzerobook.com. That's diewithzerobook.com. If you want to follow me and chop it up in the streets, I'm in the Twitter streets quite often. My handle is at BP22. That's B as in boy, P as in Peter, the number 22. And you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Bill Perkins. Just type in Bill Perkins. I'll pop up.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Perkins, again, thank you so much for an amazing day today. Audience, go follow, go purchase. Thank you all so much for listening to us today and on The Secret to Success.
I'm not sure if you already know this, but you're already absolutely perfect. You're already absolutely great, and you're already living in massive abundance. The most important things that you have is not what you have, it's not what you do, it's what you know. Because the people who do know what you need to know to lead the middle class, they're in the top 1%, and they control 96% of the world's income. 97% of this world is trading time for money, and that is not the way to become rich, it's not the way to become wealthy, and it is absolutely not the way to leave the middle class. There are 7.8 billion people in the world right now, and they all want to learn how to make money and how to leave the middle class. But the way to become a master at anything is to learn all the rules and then bend them to your favor. Right now in this world, there are 2,057 billionaires. Right now. So if you think becoming a billionaire is impossible, that's 2,057 people that have already proved that impossibility incorrect. And if you think that's crazy, there are 46.8 million millionaires in the world, worldwide right now. Now think about that. 46.8 million millionaires, and that number grows 1,730 millionaires every single day. Money is everywhere. You don't need to max out your credit cards. You don't need to borrow from granddad and grandma. Just look behind me. Look at all the wealth sitting behind me in this junkyard. It's insane how much money is everywhere, and you don't need to go out there and beg, borrow, and steal to get it. You just need to know the rules of making money and how to leave the middle class. Essentially, all you need to know is the algorithm of making money, the rules of making money. All you need to know is what to do and how to do it, and you can leave the middle class. Any industry, yoga, golf, underwater basket weaving, clipping fingernails, it doesn't matter. All you have to do is know how to do it, how to get it done, and then find somebody to teach you how to do it, how to get it done, and you will be able to leave the middle class. If you're not getting my point, it's real simple. Whatever you have up here, as long as you understand the rules of leaving the middle class, as long as you understand how to get money, you can take what's up here and get wealthy from what you already have. Right now, the very thing you know up here is already being searched 1,000 times a second on Google. Someone right now, actually 1,730 people right now are going to become a millionaire from the stuff that you have in your head. Why can't this be you? I mean, it's 1,730 people with your ideas that are no better than you, that are going to leave the middle class, become a millionaire. Why are you not next? So how do we do this? How do we take what you know and apply it to objective money-making secrets and then allow you to leave the middle class? How do we take you from where you are and let you escape to where you want to go? So how do we make all this money, or take all this knowledge from the Warren Buffetts, from the Elon Musk? How do we take everything that everyone before you has done, and how do we take all of that and then put it in your head so you can leave a legacy for your family? My name is Antonio T. Smith Jr. 32 years ago, I lived in a trash can. That's right, from 6 to 14, I had no running water, no electricity, no anything, and somehow I'm in the top 1% today. Not because I had the right background, not because I had a silver spoon in my mouth, simply because being homeless made me learn how to make money. I retired when I was 29 years old. I'm more than likely younger than you. I'm one of the top 1% income earners in one of the richest countries in the world. What I learned how to do when I was 6 years old was learn how to generate enough money to eat some cookies so I wouldn't die to death from starvation. From there, I learned how to go from cookies to a meal. From a meal to clothes to shelter to everything else that supplied my necessary needs. When I was 6, I was forced to learn how to make money, and now that's what I'm going to do and help you do. I've seen amazing results. I have my own economy. I've homeschooled my own children, and I wrote a book that teaches you every single thing that I know about making money, every single thing that other people know about making money, and most importantly, all the stuff that we don't tell you. Because the truth is, and you know it like I know it, the most honest, the most hardworking, unselfish people on planet Earth live in the middle class. Yet, your honesty, your unselfishness, your devout religion-going self is not enough to get to the top 1%, and that's not fair. The second half of my life has been not about how much money I make, but how I will be remembered from all the money that I have made. And I've been trying to teach everybody how to get out the middle class. I'm the crazy guy famous on the internet for trying to create 100,000 millionaires. I've created 8 so far. I got a 9th one on the way, all the way from India. That's pretty cool. And what I want to tell you is something very simple. It's been hard. It's been absolutely hard to help people leave the middle class, not because of the people, because the system would rather keep you being someone else's money instead of you having your own economy and having the money come find and flow to you. It was frustrating because I knew that anybody can make money. And if you knew what I knew, you would change your life. Over the last few years, I've built a large following of over 500,000 people every month that pay me for me to give them advice. Well, that's been exciting for me. And the cool thing is I've created thousands of six-figure earners. I've created millionaires. I've created people who can live their dreams and hold on to their legacies. And now my eyes are on you to create you to what you need to be great. I have been teaching my principles and these principles to hundreds of thousands of people around the world, every country, all continents, and anyone who has taken them seriously, written them down, and applied them have a 100% success rate of leaving the middle class. I've taught these secrets to my following and my inner network, and I've watched them go from 4 figures to 5 figures, 5 figures to 6 figures, 7 figures, all the way to 8. Everything that I've ever learned from millionaire mentors, billionaire mentors, and everything I learned from being homeless, and everything that got me into the top 1%, I have placed inside of a book. To date, it is the longest book that I've ever written, the most best book that I've ever written, and that book is called The Richest Man in the Trash Can, and I'm offering it to you today for free. This book is going to show you how to become wealthy into the top 1% and leave the middle class. This book is going to give you a step-by-step plan if you're 30 years old, all the way to 70 years old, how to get into the top 1%. If you're a teenager, how to get to the top 1%. If you're a millennial, how to get to the top 1%. It's going to teach you how to make 6 figures immediately, teach you how to get to $1 million immediately, and all that good stuff. Plus, I'm going to give you the 36 objective laws of leaving the middle class. Plus, I'm going to give you every last one of my secrets that have made me rich. You have to understand that leaving the middle class is the most important fight that you're going to have in your life. And to be honest with you, and you can kind of relate to this, it almost takes $450,000 a year just to be broke in America. And that's just in America. If you don't leave the middle class, which is actually an illusion, then you are going to have a really hard time. Think about it for a second. Most of you going to be watching this are going to be baby boomers, and you've been sold a bad check. They lied to you. Your retirement was not enough for you to live comfortable, and I'm going to give you this book for free so you can figure out how to triple your retirement and then quadruple your retirement, and then as Grant Cardone would say, 10x your retirement so you can live the life that's worthy of you. I want you to remember that leaving the middle class is the most important battle that you could ever face in your entire life, especially for your family. So consider this video, this book, your friendly tap on the shoulder. I want to send you a free copy of this book because I believe that abundance is your birthright. I believe that abundance is freedom, and I believe that this book is right for you. In fact, I believe in that so much that I will send you the book for free. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. I'll eat the cost. I'll take the loss. And all you have to do is get the book and dominate your reality right now and apply the principles so you can be the best person for your life that is yours. Fill out the form sitting right there to the right. Go ahead, dominate your reality. I can't wait to send you my book. I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to have you as someone that's been on the journey with me. Antonio T. Smith Jr., you can plan better. You can dominate.